What if the reason your hair isn't getting thicker isn't your shampoo, your genetics, or even your age, but a hidden nutrient and circulation problem happening under your scalp right now? Today, we're going to talk about something I call the hair density synergy, the powerful connection between zinc and nitric oxide, and how these two factors can dramatically influence whether your hair follicles grow strong, thick strands, or slowly shrink over time. Most people think hair loss is just about DHT. And yes, DHT plays a role, but here's what almost no one talks about. Your hair follicles are highly active mini organs. They divide rapidly. They require oxygen. They require minerals. They require blood flow. If any of those are compromised, hair density drops. Let's start with zinc. Zinc is not just a hair vitamin. It's involved in over 300 enzymatic reactions in the body. It regulates cell division. It supports protein synthesis. It balances immune function. And your hair follicles depend heavily on rapid cell turnover. When zinc is low, several things happen. First, keratin production slows down. Keratin is the structural protein that makes up your hair shaft. If you don't build strong keratin, you don't get thick hair. Second, zinc helps regulate oil glands around the follicle. If those glands become inflamed or overactive, the follicle environment becomes hostile. Third, zinc plays a role in controlling DHT indirectly. Low zinc may allow increased 5-alpha reductase activity, which can increase DHT sensitivity in susceptible individuals. But here's where it gets really interesting. Zinc also supports nitric oxide balance. Now let's talk about nitric oxide. Nitric oxide is a signaling molecule that relaxes blood vessels. When nitric oxide increases, blood vessels dilate. That means more oxygen, more nutrients, more delivery of everything your follicles need. Without sufficient nitric oxide, blood flow to the scalp becomes restricted, and hair follicles are extremely sensitive to reduced circulation. Over time, they miniaturize. This is why topical treatments that improve circulation often show benefits. It's not magic, it's blood flow. But here's the synergy. Zinc supports the enzymes that regulate nitric oxide production and protects nitric oxide from oxidative damage. At the same time, adequate nitric oxide ensures zinc and other nutrients actually reach the follicle. It's a two-way relationship. You can take all the zinc you want, but if circulation is poor, delivery is compromised. You can improve circulation, but if you're deficient in zinc, the follicle doesn't have the raw materials to build thick hair. That's the synergy. Now let's look at what depletes these two factors. High sugar diets impair nitric oxide production. Insulin resistance damages blood vessels. Chronic stress increases cortisol, which can reduce zinc levels. Frequent alcohol intake depletes zinc. Certain medications interfere with absorption. Even low stomach acid, which becomes more common with age, reduces zinc absorption significantly. So what can you do? First, focus on zinc-rich foods. Red meat, especially grass-fed beef, is one of the best sources. Oysters are extremely high in zinc. Pumpkin seeds are a plant-based option, although absorption is lower due to phytates. If supplementing, Forms like zinc picolinate or zinc glycinate tend to be better absorbed. And you don't need massive doses. Excess zinc can deplete copper, which creates another imbalance. Second, support nitric oxide naturally. Leafy greens like arugula, spinach, and beets contain nitrates that convert into nitric oxide. Regular physical activity is one of the most powerful stimulators of nitric oxide production. Even simple scalp massage can temporarily increase blood flow. Sunlight exposure also supports nitric oxide release through the skin. And here's something important. Inflammation destroys nitric oxide. So, reducing processed foods, refined carbohydrates, and seed oils can protect vascular health and scalp circulation. When you combine proper zinc status with strong nitric oxide production, you create an environment where hair follicles feel safe, nourished, and metabolically active. Over time, that can translate into thicker strands, better density, and reduced shedding, assuming the follicle is still alive and not fully scarred. Hair growth is not about one magic ingredient, it's about creating the right internal terrain. Healthy minerals plus healthy circulation equals stronger follicles. If you focus only on blocking hormones, but ignore nutrient deficiencies and blood flow, you're missing a major piece of the puzzle. The hair density synergy is about restoring both structure and supply, the building blocks and the delivery system. And when you fix both sides of that equation, the scalp environment shifts from survival mode back into growth mode. Zinc plays a fundamental role in fueling keratin production and regulating DHT balance at the follicle level. And when you truly understand this connection, you begin to see why so many people struggle with thinning hair even when they believe they are doing everything right. Hair is primarily made of keratin, a structural protein that gives each strand its strength, thickness, and resilience. Keratin is not just formed automatically. It requires amino acids, proper enzyme activity, and sufficient micronutrients to be assembled correctly. Zinc acts as a cofactor for numerous enzymes involved in protein synthesis, meaning without adequate zinc, the machinery that builds keratin simply cannot operate efficiently. When protein synthesis slows down, the hair shaft that emerges from the follicle may become thinner, weaker, and more prone to breakage. Hair follicles are among the fastest dividing cells in the body. Rapid cell turnover demands a constant supply of nutrients, especially those involved in DNA replication and tissue repair. Zinc directly supports DNA and RNA synthesis, which are essential for cell division inside the hair bulb. If zinc levels are suboptimal, the growth phase of the hair cycle, known as anage, can shorten. This results in hair shedding sooner than expected and reduced overall density over time. Instead of producing thick terminal hairs, follicles may begin generating finer strands that lack volume. Beyond protein formation, zinc also stabilizes cell membranes and protects follicular cells from oxidative stress. The scalp environment is exposed to inflammation, environmental toxins, and metabolic byproducts. Reactive oxygen species can damage follicle structures and interfere with growth signaling. Zinc functions as an antioxidant mineral by supporting enzymes such as superoxide dismutase, helping neutralize free radicals before they disrupt the delicate balance within the follicle. When oxidative stress is reduced, the follicle can dedicate more resources to building robust keratin fibers. Another critical role of zinc is its involvement in immune regulation. Hair follicles are considered immune privileged sites, meaning they are normally protected from excessive immune attack. However, when mineral imbalances occur, immune signaling can become dysregulated. Low zinc levels may contribute to inflammatory responses around the follicle, potentially accelerating shedding. A balanced immune response helps maintain a calm scalp environment where hair can grow consistently without interruption from inflammatory stressors. Zinc also influences the function of sebaceous glands located near each follicle. These glands produce sebum, an oily substance that lubricates the scalp and hair shaft. Proper sebum production protects hair from dryness and brittleness. Zinc helps regulate oil gland activity, preventing excessive buildup that could clog follicles or create inflammatory conditions. When sebum production is balanced, follicles remain open and functional, supporting uninterrupted growth cycles. Now consider the relationship between zinc and DHT, or dihydrotestosterone. DHT is a potent androgen derived from testosterone through the action of the enzyme 5-alpha reductase. In individuals genetically sensitive to DHT, elevated activity at the follicle level can lead to gradual miniaturization. The hair shaft becomes thinner with each cycle until growth nearly stops. Zinc has been shown to influence the activity of 5-alpha reductase. Adequate zinc levels may help moderate this enzyme's activity, contributing to a more balanced androgen environment at the scalp. This does not mean zinc completely blocks DHT or replaces medical therapies, but it plays a modulatory role. When zinc is deficient, 5-alpha reductase activity may increase, potentially amplifying DHT conversion. At the same time, zinc supports androgen receptor regulation, which can influence how strongly follicles respond to circulating hormones. Maintaining sufficient zinc levels helps create a more stable hormonal environment around the follicle. There is also a connection between zinc and insulin regulation. Elevated insulin levels can indirectly increase androgen activity, including DHT. Zinc contributes to proper insulin signaling and glucose metabolism. When blood sugar levels are stable, hormonal fluctuations that may impact hair follicles are reduced. This metabolic stability can further protect against miniaturization driven by hormonal imbalance. Zinc absorption depends on digestive health. Low stomach acid, which becomes more common with age or chronic stress, reduces mineral absorption. Diets high in phytates, found in certain grains and legumes, can bind zinc and limit its bioavailability. Chronic alcohol consumption depletes zinc stores, as does prolonged stress through increased cortisol production. If intake is marginal and losses are high, deficiency may develop gradually without obvious symptoms until hair thinning becomes noticeable. Food sources rich in bioavailable zinc include red meat, particularly beef and lamb, as well as shellfish like oysters. These sources provide zinc in forms that are more readily absorbed compared to plant-based options. Seeds such as pumpkin seeds contain zinc, but also include phytates that can interfere with absorption. Proper preparation methods, such as soaking or fermenting, may improve availability in plant foods. When supplementing, forms such as zinc picolinate or zinc glycinate are often better absorbed than less bioavailable forms. However, dosage must be considered carefully. Excessive zinc intake can disrupt copper balance as these minerals compete for absorption. Copper is also important for connective tissue integrity and overall hair structure. Maintaining mineral balance is essential to avoid creating a new imbalance while attempting to correct another. At the cellular level, zinc influences signaling pathways that regulate growth factors within the follicle. Growth factors such as IGF-1 are important for maintaining the anagen phase. Zinc deficiency may impair these signaling pathways, contributing to premature transition into the resting phase, known as telogen. When more hairs shift into telogen simultaneously, visible shedding increases. Over time, repeated cycles of shortened growth phases reduce overall density. Collagen provides structural support to the dermal layer where follicles anchor. Healthy connective tissue ensures proper nutrient exchange and mechanical stability. If collagen synthesis is compromised, the follicle's microenvironment may weaken, further impairing growth potential. The cumulative effect of zinc sufficiency is a supportive environment for keratin synthesis, balanced hormone regulation, controlled inflammation, and optimized cell division. Each of these factors alone influences hair growth, but together they determine whether a follicle produces thick, strong strands or progressively finer hair. When zinc status is optimal, keratin production operates efficiently, enzyme systems remain active, and hormonal signals are moderated rather than amplified. Understanding zinc's multifaceted role helps explain why correcting a deficiency can sometimes lead to noticeable improvements in shedding and density. The follicle is not simply reacting to one hormone or one nutrient. It is responding to a network of biochemical signals. Zinc stands at the center of many of these pathways, supporting the structural protein of the hair shaft, while influencing the hormonal forces that determine follicle longevity and thickness. Nitric oxide increases scalp blood flow, delivering oxygen and nutrients directly to hair roots. And this single mechanism can dramatically influence whether a follicle remains active and productive or gradually weakens over time. Hair follicles are highly metabolically active structures. They require a continuous supply of oxygen, amino acids, glucose, fatty acids, vitamins, and minerals to sustain rapid cell division during the growth H phase. Without adequate circulation, even the best nutritional intake cannot fully reach the target tissue where hair is formed. Nitric oxide is a signaling molecule produced naturally in the body from the amino acid L-arginine through the action of nitric oxide synthase enzymes. Once released, nitric oxide diffuses into the smooth muscle cells that line blood vessels, triggering relaxation. This relaxation process, known as vasodilation, widens the vessel diameter and allows greater blood flow through the area. When this occurs in the scalp's microvascular network, the follicles receive enhanced delivery of oxygen and essential nutrients. Oxygen is fundamental for energy production inside follicle cells. Mitochondria use oxygen to generate ATP, the cellular energy currency required for protein synthesis and cell replication. The anagen phase of hair growth demands substantial ATP because matrix cells in the hair bulb divide rapidly to form the hair shaft. If oxygen supply is limited due to poor circulation, ATP production declines. As a result, keratin synthesis slows and the hair fiber that forms may be thinner and weaker. Beyond oxygen, circulation determines how effectively minerals such as zinc, iron, and magnesium reach the follicle. These micronutrients act as cofactors in enzymatic reactions involved in keratin formation, DNA replication, and antioxidant defense. Even when dietary intake is sufficient, impaired blood flow can limit distribution to peripheral tissues like the scalp. Nitric oxide-driven vasodilation helps overcome this limitation by ensuring an efficient nutrient pipeline to the hair root. Blood flow also supports the removal of metabolic waste products. Rapidly dividing cells generate byproducts that must be cleared efficiently to maintain a healthy microenvironment. Stagnant circulation can allow inflammatory mediators and oxidative compounds to accumulate around follicles. Nitric oxide enhanced perfusion improves the exchange of oxygen and waste, maintaining a cleaner, more supportive growth environment. Hair follicle miniaturization, often associated with androgen sensitivity, is not solely a hormonal issue. Reduced blood supply has been observed in areas of thinning scalp. Microvascular constriction may limit nutrient access over time, gradually shrinking follicle size. Nitric oxide counters this process by promoting vessel relaxation and maintaining consistent perfusion. When circulation improves, follicles may regain some metabolic activity if they are not fully dormant. Endothelial cells lining blood vessels play a central role in nitric oxide production. These cells respond to physical activity, shear stress, and certain dietary compounds by increasing nitric oxide synthesis. Regular exercise enhances endothelial function, thereby supporting systemic circulation, including to the scalp. Even moderate physical activity stimulates nitric oxide release, contributing to improved vascular health throughout the body. Dietary nitrates found in leafy greens such as arugula, spinach, and beetroot can be converted into nitric oxide through a pathway involving oral bacteria and subsequent reduction in the bloodstream. This alternative pathway becomes especially important when endogenous nitric oxide production declines with age. Aging is associated with endothelial dysfunction, meaning blood vessels become less responsive and produce less nitric oxide. As this occurs, peripheral circulation may diminish, potentially affecting hair density. Insulin resistance is another factor that impairs nitric oxide availability. Elevated blood sugar damages endothelial cells, and reduces nitric oxide synthesis. When vascular function declines, microcirculation in smaller vessels, like those supplying hair follicles, and suffer. Supporting metabolic health through balanced nutrition helps preserve nitric oxide production and vascular responsiveness. Inflammation also reduces nitric oxide bioavailability. Reactive oxygen species can rapidly inactivate nitric oxide, forming compounds that diminish its vasodilatory effects. Chronic inflammation, driven by poor diet, stress, or environmental exposures, creates an oxidative environment that undermines vascular flexibility. Antioxidant defenses and anti-inflammatory dietary patterns help protect nitric oxide molecules from premature degradation. Sunlight exposure has been shown to stimulate nitric oxide release from storage forms within the skin. When ultraviolet light contacts the skin surface, small amounts of nitric oxide derivatives can be mobilized into circulation, contributing to systemic vasodilation. This mechanism may partly explain why moderate sun exposure supports vascular health. Stress hormones, such as cortisol and adrenaline, cause vasoconstriction. During periods of chronic stress, blood flow is preferentially directed toward major organs and away from peripheral tissues like the scalp. Persistent vasoconstriction may compromise nutrient delivery to follicles. Nitric oxide counterbalances this by promoting relaxation of blood vessels, restoring more even distribution of circulation. Topical approaches that aim to increase scalp blood flow often rely on mechanisms that indirectly stimulate nitric oxide pathways or directly dilate vessels. The principle remains consistent. Enhanced circulation supports follicle metabolism. However, systemic nitric oxide production addresses the underlying vascular function rather than creating only a temporary surface effect. Adequate nitric oxide levels also support angiogenesis, the formation of new blood vessels. In the context of hair growth, healthy microvascular networks ensure H follicle maintains access to sufficient oxygen and nutrients. If angiogenesis is impaired, the vascular supply may not keep pace with follicle demands. Nitric oxide signaling plays a role in regulating these vascular adaptations. During deep sleep, vascular repair processes occur, and endothelial function can recover from daily stressors. Poor sleep patterns disrupt hormonal balance and increase oxidative stress, indirectly reducing nitric oxide availability. Maintaining restorative sleep supports vascular integrity and consistent scalp perfusion. Dehydration thickens the blood, making it more difficult for microcirculation to function efficiently. Proper hydration facilitates smoother blood flow through narrow capillaries surrounding follicles, enhancing the effectiveness of nitric oxide mediated vasodilation. The interaction between nitric oxide and mitochondrial efficiency is also significant. Improved oxygen delivery enhances mitochondrial respiration, which in turn supports the rapid cell division required for thick hair formation. Efficient energy production allows follicles to sustain longer anagen phases, potentially increasing overall density. When nitric oxide levels are optimal, blood vessels remain flexible and responsive. This flexibility ensures that flexibility ensures that flexibility ensures that flexibility ensures that flexibility ensures a responsive vascular network can adapt to the metabolic needs of follicles, maintaining consistent delivery of essential substrates. As nitric oxide production declines due to aging, sedentary lifestyle, poor diet, or metabolic dysfunction, the scalp may experience subtle reductions in perfusion. Over years, this reduced delivery of oxygen and nutrients can contribute to progressive thinning. Supporting nitric oxide pathways through lifestyle measures strengthens vascular health and helps preserve follicular vitality. The cumulative effect of enhanced nitric oxide activity is improved oxygenation, better nutrient distribution, efficient waste removal, and maintained microvascular integrity within the scalp. Each of these factors sustains the metabolic demands of hair roots, allowing follicles to operate at their full growth potential within the limits of genetic programming, and overall hormonal balance. Hair density improves when mineral support and circulation work together in synergy, because hair follicles do not operate on a single input system. They depend on both structural building blocks and an efficient delivery network. If one side of that equation is weak, the entire growth process becomes compromised. A follicle may have access to nutrients in the bloodstream, but without adequate circulation, those nutrients cannot reach the hair bulb effectively. On the other hand, circulation may be strong, but if the bloodstream lacks essential minerals and cofactors, the follicle still cannot manufacture thick, resilient strands. Hair follicles are among the most metabolically active mini organs in the body. During the anagen phase, cells in the matrix region divide rapidly, forming the hair shaft through continuous keratinization. This process requires amino acids, trace minerals, oxygen, and energy in precise coordination. Mineral support provides the biochemical tools for this construction. Circulation provides the transport system that delivers those tools on time and in sufficient concentration. Minerals such as zinc, iron, magnesium, selenium, and copper participate in enzymatic reactions that regulate protein synthesis, antioxidant defense, and cellular replication. Zinc supports keratin production and hormonal balance. Iron assists in oxygen transport through hemoglobin. Magnesium contributes to ATP generation. Copper plays a role in connective tissue integrity and pigment formation. These minerals do not act in isolation. They function within an interconnected metabolic network that sustains follicular growth. Circulation determines whether these nutrients reach the dermal papilla, the structure at the base of the follicle, responsible for controlling hair production. The dermal papilla relies on a rich capillary network. When blood flow is optimal, oxygen tension remains adequate, nutrient gradients are maintained, and metabolic waste is removed efficiently. When blood flow is restricted, even mild nutrient deficiencies become magnified at the tissue level. When both synergy occurs, when both supply and delivery are optimized simultaneously. For example, zinc may regulate enzymes that influence follicle growth cycles, but nitric oxide-mediated vasodilation ensures zinc is delivered efficiently to scalp tissues. Iron may be present in the bloodstream, but without proper vascular function. Oxygen delivery remains limited. Adequate circulation enhances the functional impact of mineral sufficiency. Inflammation disrupts this synergy. Chronic inflammatory signaling damages endothelial cells lining blood vessels, reducing nitric oxide production and impairing vasodilation. At the same time, inflammation increases oxidative stress within follicles, raising the demand for antioxidant minerals such as zinc and selenium. If mineral reserves are already marginal, the combined stress of inflammation and poor circulation accelerates thinning. Hormonal balance also interacts with this dual system. Elevated androgens such as DHT can contribute to follicle miniaturization, but vascular health influences how resilient follicles remain under hormonal pressure. Improved circulation may help sustain follicle metabolism even in the presence of androgen sensitivity, mean, high. Mineral sufficiency can modulate enzyme activity involved in hormone conversion, reducing excessive stimulation at the follicle level. Energy production within follicle cells depends on oxygen and micronutrients working together. Mitochondria require oxygen delivered through circulation and cofactors supplied by minerals to generate ATP. Without ATP, the rapid division of matrix cells slows. Synergy ensures that oxygen delivery and enzymatic support occur simultaneously, maximizing cellular efficiency. Collagen integrity within the scalp also depends on this partnership. Minerals like copper and zinc contribute to connective tissue stability, while circulation supplies the amino acids necessary for collagen turnover. A well-supported dermal environment maintains strong anchoring of follicles, improving hair retention and resistance to mechanical stress. Stress and metabolic dysfunction interfere with both mineral balance and vascular tone. Chronic stress elevates cortisol, which can alter mineral distribution and promote vasoconstriction. Insulin resistance damages endothelial function and increases oxidative stress, further impairing nitric oxidability. When these factors combine, follicles receive fewer nutrients and less oxygen while simultaneously facing increased metabolic strain. Lifestyle factors influence synergy profoundly. Regular physical activity stimulates nitric oxide production, enhancing blood flow. A nutrient-dense diet replenishes mineral stores required for keratin synthesis and enzymatic activity. Hydration supports blood viscosity and microcirculation. Adequate sleep allows vascular repair and hormonal regulation. Each of these elements reinforces the partnership between internal nutrient status and external delivery efficiency. Age-related changes illustrate the importance of synergy. As individuals age, endothelial function oft and declines, reducing nitric oxide production and vascular responsiveness. Simultaneously, digestive efficiency may decrease, limiting mineral absorption. The combination of reduced nutrient intake and impaired circulation creates a compounding effect on hair density. Addressing only one aspect may yield limited improvement, whereas targeting both may produce more noticeable stabilization. Microvascular health determines how responsive scalp circulation remains to metabolic demand. During active growth phases, follicles require increased nutrient supply. Flexible blood vessels respond to this demand through vasodilation. When mineral support ensures proper enzymatic signaling and antioxidant defense, endothelial cells remain healthier and more capable of generating nitric oxide. This reinforces circulation, creating a positive feedback loop. Environmental exposures also influence this relationship. Pollutants and ultraviolet radiation increase oxidative stress, elevating mineral requirements while damaging vascular structures. Antioxidant minerals counteract oxidative damage, while strong circulation aids in removing toxins and metabolic byproducts. Maintaining both aspects reduces cumulative stress on follicles. Even scalp tension and muscular tightness may influence microcirculation. Chronic tension can compress small blood vessels, reducing nutrient flow. Relaxation techniques, massage, and posture correction may indirectly enhance perfusion. When improved circulation is paired with adequate mineral status, follicles receive both the structural components and the energy supply necessary for sustained growth. Hair density reflects the cumulative effect of thousands of follicles operating efficiently. Each follicle depends on synchronized nutrient availability and vascular delivery. When this synchronization is disrupted, follicles may shift prematurely into resting phases or produce thinner strands. When restored, growth cycles may stabilize and strands may gradually appear fuller. The concept of synergy emphasizes that hair health is not driven by a single supplement or isolated intervention. It emerges from coordinated physiological systems. Mineral sufficiency provides the raw materials and enzymatic catalysts for hair construction. Circulation ensures these materials arrive consistently and that metabolic waste is cleared promptly. When both systems function optimally, the scalp environment becomes supportive rather than restrictive, allowing follicles to perform according to their genetic potential within the boundaries of overall health and metabolic stability.